I'm Lauren from Legends of S.H.I.E.L.D., a Marvel Universe fan show, part of the Gonna Geek Network, just like the show you're checking out now. Shows on the network are individually owned, and opinions expressed may not reflect others. Find other incredible geeky shows at GonnaGeekNetwork.com.
And welcome to Play Comics, where once again we are looking at a video game based on a comic property and how well it represents that source material. As always, I'm Chris, and today I have Adam Williamson here back again to try to figure out why we hate ourselves so much. That's a horrible introduction, but a wonderful introduction if you read the title, because we are looking at the tie-in game for Superman Returns. Adam, how are you today?
I'm doing great, maybe. How about you?
That seems like a great way to put it, because I don't know. I don't know. It's Superman Returns. It's weird. Let's put this all into some context. What was it that made you see this game on the list and think that this is what you wanted to put yourself through?
Well, two things. One, I remember seeing Superman Returns in the theater, and it was the weirdest of all the Superman movies because it's the only one where Superman is a deadbeat dad. And I remember vaguely that there were like 3 different versions of this video game that had nothing to do with one another. And I'd never actually played them, so I figured, might as well give them a shot.
Yeah, let's jump on that movie part first, because you're right, this is a weird game in so many ways. I mean, first off, just going as being a spiritual sequel to the first 2 Superman movies with Christopher Reeve, who already had their own sequels. So that's just a weird concept in itself.
And these games are like, there's money put into them. They use actor likenesses. This whole thing was supposed to be a huge push for everybody that was involved in it, and it never was.
Did you rewatch any of the Christopher Reeve Superman movies getting ready for this one?
No, but I did watch the Brandon Routh one.
Oh yeah, I definitely watched that one too, but I also watched the second Christopher Reeve one just because I hadn't seen it in forever, and the first one is pretty paint by numbers Superman, so I was okay not squeezing that one in.
Yeah, so I've watched them fairly recently, and I tend to remember them as being neat, I guess. Like, so in the era when I grew up and you grew up, I think of it as kind of prime, like, Superman. So we went from having the Donner and etc. movies to a weird Superboy TV show to Lois and Clark to Smallville to this movie. So like we constantly had Superman on television and in the movies.
Yeah, Superman was somebody that you just could not escape. Like if you were alive and conscious, you knew who Superman was. You didn't have to know who anybody else was for anything. It was just, here's this big old guy. Everybody had their opinion on whether he was super overpowered and boring or super overpowered and awesome. But as you go through everything, there was always a Superman available. And, there was always something going on. You also had a Supergirl movie mixed in there somewhere. You had the Superman animated series. You had him showing up in the Justice League series. Just, you can't escape the guy. He's on every single team, unless the whole point of the team is that he doesn't have Superman on it. It's just, Superman is literally everywhere. And there were tons of games before this one. You can check out previous episodes of the show to hear about most of those. They all kind of missed the mark to varying levels. But this one, like you said, was supposed to be like, cool, here's a new era of Superman. We're going to get everything going. Here's our big push to have everything in.
I'm going to make the very controversial statement that the Xbox/PlayStation version of this is the best Superman game ever made.
I'm trying to come up with an argument against that, and I really can't think of it right now.
It's still not very good.
Maybe I'll come up with something by the end of the episode, and I refuse to have my answer be my usual Superman 64 is just a simulation run by Luther.
Yes, this is, boy, did people try on this game so hard. On one version of this game.
You could say the same thing about the Brandon Routh movie too, because there's
Mhm.
not really a lot of Superman going on, but there's a lot of Superman there. Like you have your action sequence at the beginning where he saves the plane. You have him coming back, realizing there's a kid, realizing Lois is in danger. Oh, I have to save everybody. Somehow Sonic's dad is involved. Just everything in here screams you should have more action. And it is a lot of Superman interpersonal conflicts, which is cool, but not what I'm expecting.
Oh yeah, yeah. And Routh was an amazing Superman. Like I still think he ranks up there as one of the best. Which is why it's really cool that decades later we got to see him play Kingdom Come Superman on television.
I would argue that there has not necessarily been a bad movie Superman.
I would argue that there was one. That's why you can't find me on the Snyder Cut website. Yay!
Wait, wasn't that still Henry Cavill?
That was Cavill. I think. I actually think Cavill himself was fine. I think he was the worst of the movie Superman, but that's still really high praise.
I mean, that's like saying that the worst quarterback between Tom Brady and Peyton Manning and Drew Brees is any of them.
Right.
Doesn't matter.
Yeah. As much as I hate Man of Steel, I think Cavill really tried really, really hard. And he was the best part of his movies by far. Just like Routh was the best part of Superman Returns.
The whole movie, I was just kind of waiting for things to happen, and they never did. The deadbeat dad. I want to hit on that because I picked up on that too, and that is just weird. Do you know where that all came from?
I have no idea.
Okay, so I'm really glad I watched the second one this morning. In the second Christopher Reeve Superman movie, Lois figures out that he's Superman because she finally puts it together that Clark is always there and then not there, and Superman shows up.
Right.
And then Clark is back. So that finally gets through her head. And she does some stupid stunt and jumps in the river, and Clark goes and saves her, but he's using his superpower sneaky, and she thinks he passed it off. It's fine. And they go back up to their hotel room that they're in for plot reasons that don't matter for right now.
And she shoots him.
No, even better than that. He trips and his glasses fall off and his hand falls into a fire.
Because they're in Niagara Falls.
And his hand is not burnt. And she says, "Holy crap, you are Superman." And then he takes her over to the Fortress of Solitude and he puts himself through a chamber that takes away all of his powers so that he can be immortal, because for some reason his mommy told him from way back in the past that if he ever falls in love with a mortal woman, he can't be Superman anymore. He has to take away all his powers. So he does, because he listens to his mommy. In this case, I think that's a bad idea. And he and Lois sleep together and they make a kid.
And he does not care and goes into space for a decade.
Oh, even better than that. He uses this super powered kiss that he has, which I read is actually in the comics. I haven't seen it in the comics myself, but he makes her forget that he is the one that impregnated her with this kid. And everything about him being Superman, everything like that. So she has a kid that she legitimately has no idea who the father is. And Lois, being Lois, presumably you would think that she would remember people that she slept with.
But apparently not.
How does she think this kid came about?
Yeah, that's one of those big plot holes. And to be fair, one of the first thing the game does is it gets rid of the kid entirely, because it makes Superman seem so entirely insane. And it does raise the problem that you said with Lois having a magic baby who I assume maybe she kind of thinks Cyclops is the dad of.
But then later the kid has superpowers, and where did that come from? Like, who else could have given her that kid? I mean, I guess it could have been General Zod or something from back in the other movies, but that would have also been really weird and really bad.
Or she, I mean, maybe she just thought she just kind of got the baby, like, weirdly through Superman Jesusness. Like, she had an immaculate Superman baby.
I mean, that's gotta be it. I can't think of anything else.
Yeah, it's like, it is not a movie that is really worth thinking hard about.
I mean, you get some wonderful character moments in there. She goes and yay, she's connecting with the kid and everybody is good. And Sonic's dad in there goes and he is not super jealous of her continued love for Superman. It's almost like somebody who continued to love their wife who had died kind of situation.
Mm-hmm.
Like, the guy's gone. It doesn't matter. And then even when Superman comes back, it's like, yeah, even if she leaves me for him, he's Superman. I can't blame her.
Which would be like anybody's reaction.
Like, she gets him to fly a plane through a storm in 2 different directions. Sonic's dad is the real hero here.
I want to point out that man gave up the X-Men movies for this role.
I don't think there was a bad choice in there, honestly.
Or possibly there was not a good choice in there.
Either way. But you get in there and it's just a giant... This movie is the issue or 2 of a comic between 2 big action-packed events where they're just giving somebody a chance to breathe and figure out all of their plot points.
It's the comic that everybody lies and says they want, where they're just like, I just really want to see some character development.
Haha. X-Men fans really do want character development sometimes.
But this movie also has so much Kevin Spacey in it.
On one hand, yes, you have Kevin Spacey, which is bad. On the other hand, Kevin Spacey is no question the bad guy, so you don't have to change how you think about him at all, which is good.
Yeah, it's just every once in a while you're like, oh yeah, him. I forgot about him. Speaking of, there's also all kinds of these little cameos from old Superman stuff, like just sprinkled throughout there that you're only gonna guess if you like are really deeply familiar with old Superman. Like the old lady at the beginning that he gets his money from, he gets her dogs to eat her after he dies or she dies or whatever, is like from the original Adventures of Superman TV show.
I didn't even catch that.
Yeah, that is the original Lois.
The main thing that really jumped out at me was the continuation of the land gaining plot that they had in the first Christopher Reeve movie. So I'm glad that it wasn't just a feeling that they were going for. They were actually pulling things from those movies into here. Right,
yeah. Lex Luthor continues to be a real estate tycoon.
He is the worst kind of capitalist.
Yeah, he gets Kal Penn for a second, though, who apparently was supposed to originally have a much bigger role in the movie.
I was really wondering why he was even credited being in this, since he had so little to do that wasn't just the guy pressing the button.
There's got to be another cut of this film out there somewhere that I don't want to see.
Kind of do want to see it, just because I'm curious.
Imagine the 4-hour cut of Superman Returns.
That would be so... See, now you're giving me dreams, and I really do want to see that. Spread out over a couple nights.
Yeah, maybe.
Well, we're going to try to think about what all the crazy fanboys would say if that ever popped up. Well, I've dropped some promos for a few other things.
Deep in the Congolese jungle lies the experience of a lifetime, if you can afford it. Thanks to recent advances in time travel technology, you too can test your wit and skill as a modern-day sportsman against some of history's deadliest warriors. The gallant knight, the Viking berserker, the noble samurai. Are you ready to make your mark on the world? If so, the most dangerous game awaits. Big Game Saga returns to Kickstarter Saturday, July 4th with the newest installment. Abducted through time, hunted for sport. Will Saga's ninja instincts be enough to survive in this alien world of the future? Find out in issue 2 of Big Game Saga, written by Bill Poor with critically acclaimed artist David Lujan. Live on Kickstarter July 4th through July 18th.
Science fiction, romance, swashbuckling adventure, all that and more is coming to DC Specialcast in 2026. I'm your host, Paul Ken. DC Specialcast is a podcast where each month a guest and I explore DC's special comics of the 1970s, like DC Special Series, DC Superstars, Super DC Giant, and others. This year we'll have plenty of superhero action, including a special movie tie-in. But we also plan to cover Sergio Aragonés, The Star Hunters, Three Musketeers, and Love 1971.
But wait, there's more! Extra! Extra! Read all about it! I'm Sean M. Myers, and because Paul will not let me do a podcast about Newsies, we're going to do a special segment we are calling The Monthly Planet. I will join my Bat Brother Paul as we cover the 50th anniversary of the greatest series of DC house ads ever, The Daily Planet. Get ready to hear us talk about Direct Currents, Fred Hembeck, The Answer Man, and so much more.
So join us each month on DC Special Cast from the Fire and Water Podcast Network.
Now that's special.
Those are some great things to check out. But first, let's finish up here. So, Adam, we've kind of touched on it a little bit. But what is bringing us here today is this November 2006 game, Superman Returns. It was made by EA Tiberian, published by Electronic Arts and Warner Brothers Interactive Entertainment. Came out on the PS2, the Xbox, the 360, and if you really, really want to count it, the DS, because that game is very, very different.
The game, yes. Yes, the two Game Boy versions are very different from one another and both not good in different ways.
How dumb am I being? Because I thought there was only one.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, there is a Game Boy Advanced version and a DS version.
Whoa, no, I do not accept this reality.
I promise.
Damn it, Adam, you're right. And I didn't even look at the Game Boy Advance one because I am either a horrible person or the luckiest person in the entire world.
Well, I could tell you all about the Game Boy Advance version.
Please do.
Yeah, because the Game Boy Advance version is, I think you remember the most important thing about Superman's Fortress of Solitude, right? Sudoku?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, because that's what this game is. It is a pattern matching game interrupted by occasional levels of Atari level Superman flying up and down and shooting things with either heat breath or freeze vision.
Wow.
And I say it that way because it's impossible to tell what he's supposed to be doing. He shoots a red or a blue.
Okay, well, at least those are different colors.
It is notably like one of the worst Game Boy Advance games I have ever played. Not because it's unplayable, but because it's so repetitive.
I mean, I guess if you just want to waste time solving puzzles, it's fine.
Except it's the same puzzles over and over again.
Wow, that sounds so boring.
It is not good. It is it is an interestingly cheap kind of game. It's like you can tell that this is coming out towards the end of the lifespan of the Game Boy Advance, so no one was trying too hard. Like the DS version's closer to a legitimate video game, but this is the kind of thing that like your grandparent would buy you.
I think we've already talked about this one too much.
Mm-hmm.
Going up the scale of goodness, you have the DS version.
Yes, you do.
Which, granted, when I was looking at it, I knew that you said the Game Boy handheld one was horrible, and I thought you meant this one, and I also thought you were a little bit crazy.
Yeah, this one is it sure is a DS game, isn't it?
I wouldn't go straight to calling it horrible, but I would be calling it bad.
Yeah. Yeah, well, it feels like kind of one of those early sort of DS games where they're like, oh man, we really got to use two screens for stuff. So you get I don't know. It's not good. It's better than Superman 64.
That's not a very nice thing to say about it.
I know.
It's true.
Yeah. You do Superman stuff. Like you fly around, you know, like Superman normally does. He fixes things with his heat vision and he collects gems. And I think that's the Superman thing, right?
He has to change his clothes.
Right. Yeah. It kind of graphically reminds me of the PlayStation 1 Spider-Man game.
Yeah, I can see that.
Which is kind of high praise for an early DS game.
Yeah, especially considering the screen size you're on. It's not like you have a ton of room for detail anyway.
Yeah, I mean, it is. I mean, it is what it is. It's a licensed Nintendo DS game, and it does about all it can do with that hardware.
It's the kind of game that if your grandparents bought you that one, you would be happy because they picked something that's actually a functional game, and you might buy it on purpose if you found it in the bargain bin.
Yeah, like that's it. When you told your grandparents you wanted a handheld Superman game, that's the one of the two you wanted.
But the real thing that's tying everything in here is the big boy console one that came out on PS2, Xbox, and Xbox 360.
Oh my gosh, this game should have been made like 15 years later.
I was wondering what you were going to say. And putting it that way makes perfect sense because this is like the bedrock of Arkham Asylum, I think.
Yes. I mean, this game gets it, like, understands what a Superman game I think is supposed to be. Like, I love the idea, like, oh, actually, Superman's biggest thing is saving people because he's invulnerable. So you're going to run around and save things and not use your superpowers to be a jerk.
The fact that he doesn't have a health meter, I think, was a beautiful touch in here.
Mm-hmm.
And, gameplay wise, you've got to have a health meter, but all right, cool. Save the city. And if the city gets messed up, then your health goes down.
And Superman is like, he has a very small slate of powers, but they all make sense for what he's doing. It's just woefully held back by the fact that this is on like a PlayStation 2.
Yeah, that is the big problem because you have to have a game that makes sense on the PS2 and the Xbox, but then also on the 360. So you can't like super fine tune it into what a PS2 and Xbox can do because you have to take it up to that next generation, but you can't put any of the really cool stuff that the next generation can do into it, especially considering that it's not coming out on PS3.
Right. And you're going to end up spending a lot of time, like, the city levels are the big, like, showpiece, because there are those weird, like, other levels, like when you're on War World. And those suck. Like, those are just terrible. But you can tell they could only do so much with the city and the blue sky ideas of it.
Well, I was looking into some of the background of this game, and it had some really weird development quirks. One of the things being that Warner Brothers was really keeping the script a secret when they were making this. So like, you had very limited people who could look at the script, and then they had to go play a game of telephone to tell people what was going on, and the script wasn't staying in their office overnight. So you had to hope that it would come back. And they weren't even told everything real. And then who knows how a script is going to change afterwards anyway. And they were trying to have it timed out for the movie being released. And then they were told, yeah, we're not going to do that. We're just going to have it time out with the DVD release instead. It gets really fun when you have something in there where they're really trying to keep the leaks under wraps for a movie that doesn't really have any twists or anything. Like, it seems silly now knowing how the movie turned out.
Yeah, and when you're playing the game, you notice like most of the big plot beats are kind of there, but there's a lot of stuff that is notably missing, like the kid, the boy. Most of the secondary characters who are not Lois or Lex are there, and a lot of the stuff is filling in the blanks from the comic books.
Yeah, remember the part of the movie when Bizarro showed up?
Sure, and that classic Superman villain, Riot.
Yeah, everything that they used to fill in. If this was a game that was saying, hi, here's the continuation of the movie, then cool, makes perfect sense. But the fact that they're saying, hi, you're going to be here playing the plot of the movie, and they throw all those things in, and there's not even just like a, meanwhile, in this part of the movie you didn't see, here's a thing that happened. It just makes it kind of weird.
It is really, really weird, but I don't think it's to the detriment because, like, imagine the version of this game where they do work the stuff in from the movies. Like, press R2 to ignore your son.
But maybe you could have played as the kid.
Oh, yeah. Wiggle your joystick to try to take your inhaler full of what I assume is kryptonite?
Oh, that's a good point. I didn't even think about that. Can Superman even have asthma?
No. Maybe? Space asthma?
I don't even know human biology. I mean, alien biology is just alien to me.
Yeah, this is not one I would be able to figure out. But with that said, like, leaving so much from the movie is fine. The stuff they put in the game is fine. Like, it's good. It's actually really cool. It's just the game's either too good for the technology or the game's too poorly made for the concept.
Do you remember a few years ago when everybody was going crazy about that PS1 Piglet game?
Mm-hmm.
This is that game. This is a game that is in a really weird packaging. And if people would just look at the game for what it is and ignore where it came from and everything, then they would see it, and it's a pretty good game.
You know how they're like constantly making the remakes and the reskins of like actually really good games? Like you can buy 30 different versions of Elder Scrolls Skyrim. They should do that with games like this.
I would love that. Take those ones that either were legitimately good games back in the day and just missed for some reason, or ones like this where you can do it so much better now.
Yeah, I mean, I think like one, like not flying around a gray skybox most of the time, because it took me like a good 5-10 minutes to figure out that I was just stuck at the top of the screen at one point.
Having a functional map, that would be nice.
A functional map would be cool. You could shoot down meteors that didn't magically pop in.
That would be real nice.
But I don't know. There's something about this. Like most of the time when I play a crappy game, it's like, oh, this is just a crappy game. I can't wait to stop playing this. And this one made me really mad that the game was not 15% better.
Well, I don't know if this is going to make you feel better or worse, but we're totally on the same page there. Like this one bothers me because it should be better, because it could have been better. But I also know that it kind of couldn't have been that much better just because of when it came out. It's in a really weird spot.
Yeah, technological constraints. It's towards the end of the, era where you dump money on licensed games. I remember playing a lot of weird licensed crap on my Xbox 360, and this is very indicative of that. And I also think you're still dealing with almost not fully understanding how to navigate that 3D space quite as well as future games would be able to do.
Yeah, 3D space on the ground, I think everybody pretty much had that down. And this one also has down when you're on the ground, but being up in the sky makes it weird. I mean, that's one reason why I think a functional map would be good. I don't need it to show me where all the levels are, just show me where I am.
Right. I mean, I sometimes I think about playing, especially the latest, the latest iteration of the game called Spider-Man 2, and how well it does with Spider-Man, fighting midair, and how clunky Superman is compared to that.
And Spider-Man has his own problems. You have to just imagine that there's girders everywhere, unless it's one of the few games that actually doesn't let him swing through the middle of a field. Superman, at least, he does everything on his own, so you don't have to worry about that part. It's just you fly, you use whatever powers you have, you pick up whatever powers you pick up throughout the game, because nobody's going to give you all of them at the beginning, which is fine. It's a game.
Right.
You've got to allow for that kind of thing. But this one picks up the fact that you can't make a Superman game and have the stakes be about Superman. The stakes have to be about everybody around him. So the fact that you're having to save the city, the fact that you essentially have a time limit to get everything done in, that is, I think, its big selling point here.
Yeah, it absolutely, this game gets the core idea of what a Superman game should be right. Like, I hope someday the people who came up with the basic ideas for this get a chance to make a better Superman game. Because I really want to see what they could do with a budget and time and modern hardware.
Yeah, because I don't think we've had anything since then that isn't a movie tie-in.
No, I mean, Superman is pretty video game free for a long time. Matter of fact, the last thing I could see is basically him showing up in a bunch of Lego games.
Wow. Yeah, because you'd have that. You'd have the Injustice stuff, the DC Mortal Kombat crossover.
But that's about it. I mean, there actually has not been a Superman at like a mobile game for almost, well, no, actually 15 years now.
As we start to wrap this one up, what do you think this game really gets right looking at Superman? Not necessarily the movie it's based on, but Superman in general.
I think it does a fantastic job of making Superman somebody who primarily cares about other people over himself. And I think it does a fantastic job of making Superman not just a power fantasy. Like, you can mess up Metropolis in this game, so you have to be careful.
I also think that this one does a great job acknowledging the fact that people are going to want to go into this and just totally mess up Metropolis. And you do kind of get to do that when you play as Bizarro.
You can, yeah.
You get that itch scratched. and then you can go back to being Superman.
Yeah, it's, as much as I make fun of this for being a really bad game, and it is kind of a bad game, like, it does so much right.
Everybody that it has in here is a great character to have in here. Like, you have it accurate to the movie Lex. Think of that as you will, because that also means it's accurate to Kevin Spacey. You have these villains that are showing up out of nowhere, but they're pretty comics accurate. Like, everything in here, you can tell that the people making it liked Superman,
Yeah.
or at least knew how to do their job really well.
Right. And this is all, I guess, for people who are too young to understand this is all in the pre-MCU era where comic book movies were very embarrassed to be comic book movies. So the fact that this is full of comic book stuff is actually really cool.
What do you think this one really gets wrong looking at Superman?
Oh, God. Superman can turn in the air very easily, I think, would be a big one. Superman probably does not have a number of brawler game combos that you need to memorize, would be a big one. And I think Superman can touch a tornado.
The biggest thing for me is just all of the other side characters that were not there. I was giving praise for the ones that were, but Jimmy Olsen is a big character, could have been in the game more somehow. Supergirl was going to be in this game, and then they decided not to put her in.
And I think on that, even if you had just thrown in some little cameos, some winks and nudges, this is an era where I think 2006, we still had a Superboy running around. We still had things like Project Cadmus, or we had all of Superman's various super friends in the Justice Leagues. So some little winks and nudges could have gone a long way there, but it does make Superman feel like a very isolated figure in this game.
Yeah, it would have been really easy. Just mention another hero. Even if you're only doing it by name, that's fine. They're still in here. Because outside of Superman's power of being good, his secondary superhero power is being able to team up with people.
Sure. And I guess putting a Wayne Industries billboard in the background would have gone a long way in this game.
Definitely a long way. If you knew somebody who wanted to get into Superman, would you give them this game as part of a primer course?
Absolutely not. But if I knew somebody who wanted to see how you could possibly do Superman in a video game, this is the one game I would give them.
Yeah, this is the real big struggle for me. Because I don't know if there's another Superman game I would give them, and I'm getting late enough in the show where that's kind of becoming a little bit of my thought process here, because I'm not going to give them any of the earlier games. They're not good for whatever reason as an introduction. I'm certainly not going to give them Death and Return of Superman, because that's just too much to dump on somebody.
Right.
Just thinking ahead, I might maybe... Actually, I think I made myself throw up a little bit starting to think that I might maybe give them the Injustice games, because again, I think that's too much to dump on somebody.
I mean, maybe there's nothing else where you can play as Superman. Like, I guess Superman's pretty good in DC Universe Online, but he's an NPC there. This is really as close as you're going to get to the Superman experience.
Honestly, the big thing for me of keeping me from wanting to give somebody this game is the fact that it's a movie tie-in to a movie that I don't think is a good introduction to Superman either. So you can't even weasel around and get it in that way.
Fair.
This is perfectly fine to good for people who are already into Superman. This is not a good introduction.
Yeah, and I think this is a game where if you really, really, really want to play it, you should go into this as seeing the gradual evolution of what a superhero video game could be.
And finally, let's look at this and let's get the Daily Planet involved somehow, because it's the Daily Planet. It needs to be involved, but they need some new reporters. So what couple Muppets are you going to bring in to be reporters covering all of this Superman craziness?
I mean, canonically, you have to go with Kermit, right?
I mean, naturally. That's why I said multiple reporters.
Yeah, I would actually put in Sam the Eagle. I think Sam the Eagle would do a fine job and not put up with any kind of shenanigans. He'd be a great anti-Superman reporter / Superman fanboy later on. And just to make it incredibly weird, I'm throwing in the Swedish Chef.
Swedish Chef doesn't make it weird. The Swedish Chef makes it fun.
Like, that'd just be a fun Swedish Chef minigame where Superman has to fly around the kitchen and keep it from exploding or something.
I mean, that is basically the entire DS game.
That is the entire DS game, yes.
Well, Adam, it has been great talking to you here. If people want to hear more from you, where else can they find you around the internet?
You can find me on Blue Sky as Effect, not Affect, and I'm not going to spell or say that. And that's about it.
I mean, I don't want to spell it either, and that's why I put links in the show notes, because clicking links is so much easier than trying to remember how to spell things.
Yes, it is.
Also, be sure to listen to the previous episode. Well, previous as in the past, not the one right before this, where Adam and I talked about Dante's Inferno, because it's April Fool's Month, or at least it was back then, and I decided to have some fun with it.
And you all deserve a moment with that beautiful work of literature and game.
As always, the best place to find me is over on playcomics.com, where you can find links to all the social media things, which is pretty much Threads and Blue Sky, because that's where I have found people to not be giant monsters. If you want to be on the show, then you can check out the list of things that I have linked down in the show notes. Those are all the games I'm looking to find a guest for right now. Or if you have some thoughts on the next episode that's coming out, which is going to be Garfield's Nightmare and Scary Scavenger Hunt, because somebody twisted my arm very, very lightly and we're looking at the Scary Scavenger Hunt one. Let me know if you have any thoughts about either of those games, and we can put them in here. If you want to help support the show, then you can be like Oh No Lit Class or Dan McMahon and give the show money, because unfortunately it does cost money to run a podcast. Or you can just tell your friends and family and random people about it. Maybe the guy who takes care of the cactuses around the corner, because, obviously he likes prickly things, and I don't know how that connects to anything, but we're going to leave it in here anyway. Maybe he'd like to listen to this while he takes care of those cactuses. Don't forget that Play Comics is part of the GonnaGeek.com network, home to such other wonderful shows as Capes on the Couch, where you can hear Doc and Anthony talk about things that make them sound smart and me sound dumb, and also a lot of the time make Anthony sound dumb too. I say it because I love you, man. It's okay. If you want to hear Carrington Martin and I looking at the things from children's media that we were taught, hey, learn that lesson, act like this, it's how you should behave out in the world. And then now we're out in the world and people are saying, hey, why are you being mean? That's socialism and communism, and that's bad. Then actually, that would be sharing. That wouldn't be mean. That would be nice. I don't know. The world is weird. It's a weird place. So let's go back to those childhood lessons. And you can do that by listening to Sugar Spite and Everything is Fine. Link is down in the show notes. It is a sporadic release schedule. We haven't released one for probably a few months now, but I'm going to get back on that. Our schedules are being crazy, and if I have to do it by myself, I'm going to do it by myself. If you like the music that I'm rudely talking on top of, head on over to backingtrack.gg and check out all the great music over there, and maybe find something for your own project. But most of all, just grab a game, grab a stack of comics, and go find yourself a new favorite character. Hey, guess what? I actually press buttons.
Good job.